John, do you want to talk about it at all, or? I know you were interested in that position.
I was interested. I have served on the lake board back about 10, 12 years ago for 8 years. I was the chairman for 7 of those years. I resigned at that time for work purposes. I'm now retired. Was willing to go back on the board, and that's why I offered my name. And I've been on the lake for 28 years.
Oh, excuse me, I also have a letter from, the board, the lake board, that's recommending,
Yeah, I have the same
you have
letter.
a copy of that?
Yeah.
Normally, nobody wants these jobs, now this time we got 2. If, nothing against you, John, I've known you for a long time. If the lake board is recommending Matt, I guess I would, unless you guys got a different opinion, we need to make a motion to appoint either one of them on the lake.
I move we, have Matt, was it Matt Mormon?
Matt Mormon, correct.
Appoint him to the, Clifford Lake Improvement Board.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to appoint Matt to the Clifford Lake Improvement Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the 4th thing on the new business, as you know, Todd Wells resigned from the planning commission. I don't know if Mike is here tonight. I would like to appoint Mike Swan to the planning commission. Mike, would you wanna stand up and say a little bit about yourself?
Much to say, lived here my whole life with the absence of time I spent in the military. I've been here nearly 50 years. Worked for United Hospital in Greenville full time. Other than that, I stay busy. I know a few of you. There's a whole lot more to say about it than that.
That's fine. I just wanted to introduce you. If we get the board's approval, Mike will be taking Todd Wells' place on the planning commission. Because we need a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Mike Swan to the planning commission.
Support.
Okay, we got a motion and a support to appoint Mike Swan to the planning commission board. All those, well, we gotta do a roll call, or not necessarily. Okay. Aldo,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Anderson votes yes. Snyder,
Yes.
Laker,
Yes.
motion carried. Thank you, Mike. Do you have anything, Amy?
Yeah, taxes will go out, 1st of July, so the tax bills will be out before, the next meeting. I talked to the assessor today, and they have a new assessing reform that she has to follow, so she needs the township board's permission to be able to put the assessing information on the BSNA online site. My tax stuff is already on there. We don't have it for free because then it costs the township more money. So to be able to host that, BSNA charges whoever wants to look up information about whatever, title offices, realtors, they pay $2 per parcel to look it up. So, I'd like to make a motion that, we put the assessing information on the BSNA online website.
You made the motion?
Yeah, I made
Okay,
the
I'll
motion.
support it.
Okay. Motion been made and supported that we put the BSNA information on the website, correct? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then I have, our L 4029, which is due by the 1st of September, I think, for 2022 for the township board, with the Headley rollbacks and the villages, so we just just need to sign that tonight. And that's all I have. Oh, wait, I have one more thing. This is Corey. She lives on the corner of Musson and Hillis Road, and, she's my new deputy. My other deputy resigned, and Corey's gonna take her place.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Rhonda, do you have anything?
What's Corey's last name?
Amy.
Hi.
I received a letter from Steve Morris, letting us know that he sold his lawn care snow removal company to AA Lawn Care and Snow Removal LLC. I have not received anything from them yet.
Okay. I'm assuming they take over all his contracts and stuff.
Yeah, and Steve said that, everything is supposed to stay the same as far as pricing and stuff, but we'll see.
Okay, he raised his prices up to 29 anyway.
Is that somebody local or?
Yeah, apparently he is local, but it's nobody I know. Maybe it was an email that I got from him, but anyway. Okay, I also received an email from Kim Croy. All board members have received a copy. And, I guess I'll let Terry take it from here.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what happened. I talked to Dave. Is this just a rumor, or?
I don't know, I don't have the actual complaint form with me, but whatever was given to me, there was a couple people that asked, a FOIA, and I just forwarded that information with the list of houses or addresses to whoever, wanted a FOIA.
Can you get that information, those back
Yeah.
to Rhonda, so we can take?
Yeah, I can get it, here tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Dave. With that, you have anything, Tom? Nope. Pat? Dave?
He already gave me stuff.
Oh, do you have
Gave
any?
it to me.
You have anything, Dave?
Permits for the month of May, there were 3 of them. One was on, 2398 West Kendallville Road, that was a home edition. There was a pole barn on 815 North Sheridan Road. And then there was a pole barn on 3740 East Shore Drive. That's it, other than the complaints about vehicles and a long list, so I can't.
Other than that, I guess we can open it up for public comment.
I'm asking about the FOIA that I did for the vehicles. 3 of my vehicles are, 2 of the vehicles are mud bog trucks, and one of the vehicle is an off-road Jeep. And I FOIA'd some of that information, and your letter, or the letter that was wrote from Phelps to you. And 22 years I've lived here, I've actually taken care of his dog. And now I guess he's got a problem with our mud bog trucks. That's what I'm asking about. What do you do about mud bog trucks that are off-road and are not able to be legal at all? And a trail Jeep. It's not whatever SUV or whatever those little buggy things are. Thank you, ORVs. We haul it, we do not make them legal, either one. We have a huge trailer sitting out in the field that we haul the mud bog trucks with. And we have a toy hauler, which a few of you that know me have seen the toy hauler, that we actually put the Jeep in. We do not drive it on the vehicle, or on the road, so what would you like to do with that?
this is public comment. You're gonna have to discuss that with Dave.
Well, I have 30 days to figure this out, and you got the letter from Phelps, just like, and I don't know what to do.
I haven't seen the letter. Dave had the copy of the letter, I do not. Discuss it with Dave, he's reasonable. I'm sure he can drop the charges.
Well, the letter was sent directly to you, so that's what, I don't understand why you don't have it. It was dated to Terry Anderson. That's a letter I have too.
I haven't seen it, so.
In Keene Township, we just put an ORV on them and they're fine.
You don't have to ORV a Jeep.
Well, that's the only way we get around it. We have the same problem. Put an ORV on it and be done with it.
We're not gonna.
We deal with the same issues.
You wanna address this problem at some point, Dave, in the next few days?
Yeah, I talked to her a little bit about it already, so.
Right.
I think we got it.
Is it something that can come to the planning commission that can be addressed?
Well, if it has a ORV sticker on it, it's basically legal, not legal for the street, but it's legal to do what she has it for.
Mud bog trucks cannot have an ORV sticker.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
At
that.
all, cause they are off-road vehicle only to play in the mud. And so you can't put an ORV on those too, and they set really high, they're 44 tires underneath. You cannot put an ORV sticker on those two.
Okay.
So, in the Jeep I could, but we never have had to worry about it until now.
Okay. You wanna address this, Dave? You can figure this out with her.
Oh, yeah. I'll get your number again before
Thank
we
you.
leave, that way. No.
Anybody else? You got one in the back?
Yes, I have a question. What can we do about these people in these cars? They walked a good 100 yards onto our property. We have a plow truck, the back end is parked that way. The license plate is in the house because we didn't want it taken. We put it on it if we're plowing and stuff, and then we take it off. What can we do about them coming on our property? They had to go through, some broken toys, some tall grass. It wasn't like they went, oh, that doesn't have a plate on it. I mean, they really had to put some effort into it.
Do you have a?
Oh, yeah, well, we called somebody,
Dave.
and, mine was the one that used all the cuss words, we called got on the phone, yeah, that was a fun day for me. But, what gives them the right to do that? I understand if a vehicle is parked in plain sight. I understand if you guys are doing DMV searches, that's legal, and it's not legal. But to have it parked on private property, at least from here to that wall, and buried in the grass because we didn't plow last year. I mean, does anybody have an answer for that?
This is public comment.
My comment is
Anybody want to be next?
Yeah.
Laura?
My comment is they're coming on my property without permission. So what can we do about that?
Call the sheriff's department. Laura, you're next.
Okay, do we have the right to know who's doing this?
If you FOIA the information,
He's sitting right there in the front row.
not a problem.
Laura?
Switching directions a little bit, a lot. I wish to compliment the Douglas Township Planning Commission members for their hard work in completing the WIT ordinance to report out to the board for action. It has been a long haul for the PC members whose efforts have been shackled by some 2 years of delaying actions from within and without the township. I also wish to compliment the Douglas Township Board who have stood behind the commission during the long struggle to get an ordinance completed. You have stood strong, even when opposing forces mounted a recall effort for 3 of your members. Even if the recall comes to naught for each one of you who have been targeted, the conflict is not finished. In an effort to keep the party going, the anti-WIT opposition has pledged a referendum for any WIN ordinance. This will be a malevolent stew of nastiness that they promise to keep stirring for a period not to exceed 1,000 years. Let the fun continue. Thank you.
Anybody want to be next?
Will address the Douglas Township Board. My name is Kim Cry on the Long Grove Road. I have become aware that a written complaint against junk vehicles was filed in my name by a township resident, Keith Phelps. I am asking tonight that you formally make a motion during new business to withdraw the complaint and require Mr. Phelps to file a new complaint in his own name. I've never met him. I do not personally know him. I see him come here. He threatens to kill cats. He swears at the audience during public comment and is removed. His written complaint became the next public action. The action has not his actions have not demonstrated a solid soundness of mind. And I question yours as officials if you continue to go along with this. I do not know one single person on the list provided to you in the specific names and addresses, and I want to publicly state that I apologize to anyone who has been harassed as a result of this letter. I would never think to do such a thing, never have, never will. And if I wanted to file a complaint, I would have done it 30 years ago in my own name. He misspells my name, states that I'm a spokesperson for DTEC, and for the record, I am not, and I do not know who is. Perhaps he is trying to attach me to the group in the covert manner as to anger my neighbors against DTEC and me personally because he spoke against the big fans, or I spoke against the big fans that he speaks in favor of. He said this list is just a start, so is that a threat? My statement about cleaning up the zoning violation was a point of reference to the potential violations the big fans could produce, not a formal complaint against junk vehicles. How my first public statement was twisted into this is beyond my imagination. He claims I was indirectly complaining about junk vehicles when nothing could be further from reality. Maybe Mr. Phelps thinks it's funny or acceptable in these dangerous times to involve me in something that can get ugly, but it's not okay. I have lived peacefully among my neighbors for over 30 years. I would like to continue that, but feel a bit uneasy and violated as a result of his actions. I am not sure if this is legal or illegal, but it certainly is immoral. And it would be immoral and perhaps illegal on your part to continue the witch hunt that Mr. Phelps has launched against a specific group of residents manipulating you all in my name. Take the right action. In closing, since Mr. Phelps was so successful in getting you to act so efficiently, I am requesting in Mr. Phelps' name, as well as my own, for you to vote no on the wind ordinance in front of you. I'm sure that by submitting the junk ordinance complaint, he was indirectly asking you to vote no on the unsightly monstrosities. And I also want to bring to you that in this week's Epic Times, Biden's big lie, green energy does not save money, it is 4 to 6 times more expensive. And I'll leave this with you so that you can read it in your own time before you decide. Thank you.
If these were signed in somebody else's name, we're gonna withdraw them. We'll start with it.
Somebody else's name is not legal, so.
Well, you wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion if it's got somebody else's name on it, that we're drawn.
Okay.
Support.
Motion made and supported that if those were put in the wrong person's name, you need to withdraw them, Dave. Okay, then you don't have them with you tonight.
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Motion been made and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Anybody wanna be next?
Hi, just an observance, the young lady to your right was the only one that picked up the microphone, even though it didn't work. We in the back can't hear. I mean, that's why I thought you guys got this system. It would really be encouraging to know what's going on, people that can't hear well. Thank you, if you would do that.
Anybody wanna be next? Got one back here.
Rick Harris, Douglas Township. First of all, I would like to thank you for getting the.
Can you wait?
Sure.
Can you say your name again?
Rick Harris, Douglas Township. Sorry. First of all, I would like to say thanks for getting the PA system. I think if it's used, it would be a big help for us to hear in the back. I would like to speak today about the setback from the Clifford Lake Airport for floatplanes. I'm most concerned about three things: safety, safety, and safety for pilots, passengers, and anybody that's on the ground. I've prepared this. It'll take about 5 minutes. I think it's important because it has strictly to do with safety of that floatplane facility. I'm going to ask in advance that you give me that indulgence, if you could. At the last planning committee meeting, I spoke about 5 floatplane pilots who I had recently polled about their expected rate of climb performance for their floatplane on a hot summer day with full fuel and a passenger on board, which is a typical flight for the Clifford Lake Airport. 3 of those pilots use Clifford Lake Airport extensively, and 2 are floatplane instructors at flight schools located in Traverse City and Waterford, Michigan. In summary, those pilots told me that it is typical to be able to climb at a maximum rate of 300 feet per minute, or even less, on a hot, humid summer day. I told that to the planning committee, and although I'm not myself a floatplane pilot, much less an expert, the conversations I had with these pilots and experts informed me that a 1 or 2 mile setback for a 500-foot wind turbine is unsafe and reckless. That is, a floatplane traveling 60 miles an hour will reach an altitude of 600 feet or less in 2 miles. That is clearly not sufficient buffer when talking about clearing a 500-foot wind turbine. I'm not going to say that a 3 mile setback is enough, because if someone gets hurt or worse, I don't want the PC, this board, the Daily News, or anyone else to say that yours truly said 3 miles is enough. That call is your responsibility and yours alone. And your deliberations occurring now and in the near future on this issue, in the near future, will be at the center of that discussion if something bad happens. So what was the response to my comments to the planning committee that evening? Mr. Redding said that he had consulted with an aviation expert on the issue and gave a good and lawyerly summary of the impact of the Michigan Tall Structures Act, the controlling state rule for that airport. I will note that his summary of this rule to the Planning Commission, he never mentioned the word safe or safety or whether the rule would actually protect pilots and their passengers, and neither did anyone on the Planning Committee. He stated that this 10,000-foot rule, 1.89 miles, as he put it, would have little impact on the amount of turbine developable areas, and that the Clifford Lake Sea Base should have no impact on the formulation of the Douglas Township Wind Ordinance. Did I mention this?
That's your 3 minutes.
He asked
Yes.
for
You only get 3 minutes.
I'd like to, I'd like to pick up where.
Do you have a copy of his letter? Do you have a copy of his letter that you can leave for the board too?
He stated that this 10,000-foot rule should have little impact on the turbine developmental areas, and that the Clifford Lake Sea Base should have no impact on the formulation of the Douglas Township Wind Ordinance. A brief summary of the rule: no structures 200 feet are allowed within 10,000 feet of a runway. What are the problems with using this rule to protect pilots and the public in our situation? As indicated by Mr. Reddick, the rule says nothing about how high a structure may be outside the 10,000 foot protected area. Mr. Reddick stated that it is more than likely that the state will license the Clifford Lake Seaport. Does that mean that they might not, and therefore the rule might not apply? As stated by Mr. Reddick, the rule can be waived in some cases. So even 1.9 mile protected area might not apply at all. The rule treats airports and seaports the same. So jet, turboprops, land-based planes are equipped with float planes, which are drastically different when it comes to climb performance and the ability to get over an obstruction. What sense does that make? The rule applies a 10,000 foot setback for runways up to 3,200 feet. Clifford Lake will be approximately 2,000 feet. But 1 more foot in length over the 3,200 feet, and the protected doubles to 20,000 or 3.8 miles. That doesn't make any sense. No, I read that, as a general rule, pilots will be careful and stay away from the wind turbines. But sometimes pilots are unfamiliar with the area, sometimes they get distracted, they might avoid one just to hit the next one. The fact is that planes crashing into wind turbines, like buildings, is rare, but it does happen. Your job is to assess the risk of this particular situation, float planes, and allow adequate and safe setback just in case a good pilot gets distracted or loses track of exactly where he or she or the turbines are at the time. I ask the board for these things. Please don't rely on this rule, which makes little sense when applied to our situation. 1.89 miles is not safe. It's not safe for a 500-foot wind turbine at that distance. The rule may not apply and it could be waived. Please take the time to speak to pilots who fly these planes. Get their opinion, rather than blindly applying a rule which makes little sense in our situation. I would request that a copy of the aviation expert's letter be available to the public.
Time.
I'll make it real quick, I won't even finish this. You guys seem to listen to one side, and we're talking to a wall. Both the PC and the board don't acknowledge, we don't have to comment, anything like that. It's very frustrating that somebody makes a letter and hands it out on your table. At the last meeting, and 28 residents are 29 are visited. It's one-sided and it's getting tiring. This is going on 2 years. I could show you a stack of different things starting back when you first started on this ordinance. It got kicked out in the 2020. If you're not gonna listen to the majority of the people, you wanted your people to show up, but you don't anymore. This is just getting tiring.
Anybody wanna be next?
Me?
Go ahead.
Pam Hemis, Montcalm Township. I'm continuing the letter. 3, I would request that a copy of the aviation expert's letter be made available to the public. I, for one, would like to know the expert's opinion regarding the safety of a 1.89 mile setback for the Clifford Lake Seaport, not just the application of a rule. 4, it is my understanding that a local ordinance setback of, say, 3 or 4 miles would take precedence over the Michigan Tall Structures Act, and we should have something in our ordinance besides 1 mile setback. In summary, it is clear that Mr. Reddick and the Planning Commission have elevated the presence of this rule, the Michigan Tall Structures Act, and have totally ignored the issue of safety and protection of the public. Please do not let that continue. It is your responsibility to protect the health, welfare, and safety, and in this case, the very lives of our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Anybody wanna be next? Yeah, one right here.
Kathy Craig, Douglas Township. The Apex marketing ad states that the Montcalm Wind easement protects property rights by requiring landowner site plan review for towers and roads, and that farmers maintain control of their property throughout the life of the project. But once a landowner signs, he forfeits the right to do projects on his land for up to 55 years. Section 1, granted rights, landowner grants, warrants, and conveys an easement over, under, across, and through the property to grantee. Section 1 also describes all aspects of the project, from feasibility to relocating the towers and turbines. The grantee is also authorized to replace or repower generating units on property with newer and potentially larger models, or give authorization to a third party. It further states that when and to what extent to construct, install, operate, generate, or sell electrical energy shall be solely in the grantee's discretion, so not the landowner. The lease compels landowners to do certain things. In Section 3, it states the landowner shall cooperate with grantee as necessary to obtain any governmental or utility approval or permits, including signing applications and requests for consideration. Section 5 states that neither the landowner nor any related person of landowner shall interfere with or impair the unobstructed and natural availability of airflow, frequency, speed, or direction of air or wind over and across property, whether by planting trees, constructing buildings, or other structures. for up to 55 years. Section 7 states grantees shall have the absolute right at any time, without obtaining landowner's consent, to assign, sublease, or grant a sub-easement or license, or transfer all or any portion of its right, title, or interest to any person or entity. Section 11 addresses taking, which is eminent domain. This section requires cooperation. It states that landowners shall fully support and cooperate, and shall cause each related person of landowner to fully cooperate and support with grantee in the conduct of its operations, including the grantee's efforts to obtain from any governmental authority or any other person or entity any environmental impact review, permit, entitlement, approval, authorization, or other rights. The lease states that the landowner shall promptly, upon request, join in the signing of any protest, appeal, or pleading that the grantee may deem advisable to file, and shall not oppose or permit any related person of landowner to oppose in any way any application by grantee for governmental permit, approval, authorization, entitlement, or other consent at any administrative, judicial, legislative, or other level. How do people stating that they have the right to do whatever they want on their own property accept this surrender of property rights? Apex is taking the property rights. How do people who fought for our First Amendment right to free speech feel about this surrender of your rights and your relatives' rights? Please do not adopt the current wind ordinance draft as is going to come before you in the next month or so, which is very permissive for Apex, the author of that lease. The citizens want you to adopt and reconsider the 2021 ordinance in December that protects everyone's rights, even the leasers who may have unwittingly signed and now they can't get out of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Kim Bell, Douglas Township. Piggybacking on Kathy, the shiny advertising brochure from Apex claims that they work in close consultation with federal and state environmental agencies and use appropriate conservation measures to ensure that their wind projects have no significant effects on bird or bat populations. The brochure also states that turbines are safe for livestock and that livestock are often found grazing next to turbines. Makes me wonder then why landowners must get out of the Conservation Reserve Program and agree to toxic weed control practices. The Conservation Reserve Program, also known as CRP, is a land conservation program administered by the Farm Service Agency. In exchange for a yearly rental payment, farmers enrolled in the program agree to remove environmentally sensitive land from agricultural production and plant species that will improve environmental health and quality. The long-term goal of the program is to reestablish valuable land cover to help improve water quality, prevent soil erosion, and reduce loss of wildlife habitat. The Apex or Coral Run lease states on page 13, section 4.7, landowners shall cooperate in any effort by grantee to remove all or a portion of any such land from the CRP as needed for construction, operation, and maintenance of the project.